Good evening and welcome to the Primetime News on the Mitv. I'm Stella Opala. Nigeria and Turkey have reaffirmed their commitment to boosting bilateral trade to $5 billion following high-level talks between President Bola Tinubu and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Ankara. At a joint press conference, President Erdogan said discussions toward the ambitious trade target already underway with the establishment of a joint economy and trade commitment to drive investments and economic cooperation. The Turkish president praised President Tinubu's reform agenda, particularly in the energy sector, describing it as key to Nigeria's economic restructuring. Security cooperation also featured prominently as Turkey pledged support to Nigeria in combating terrorism and regional instability through defense collaboration, intelligence sharing, and military training. President Tinubu, however, thanked the Turkish government for its openness and partnership, stressing that trade and investment must promote inclusive growth and benefit vulnerable populations. He also reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to peace and stability in Africa, while commending Turkey's peace efforts, especially in Somalia. The visit ended with the signing of 9 bilateral agreements covering defense, trade, education, media, diaspora affairs, social development, diplomatic training, and the Joint Economy and Trade Committee.
Effort at terrorism, discuss how we could defeat elements of destabilization, banditry, and horror. We will work together to achieve that. Take it to the bank. You can bet on me that I will be there with you for democracy, freedom, and
terrorist organizations emerging, particularly in Africa's Sahel region, unfortunately pose a threat to the peace of the entire continent. We stand by the friendly people of Nigeria in their fight against terrorism under the leadership of President Tinubu. In fact, today, we addressed opportunities for closer cooperation in the fields of military training and intelligence. We stated that we are ready to share our country's significant experience in the fight against terrorism.
This meeting gave both countries an opportunity to strengthen, to deepen their bilateral connections, to strengthen various other sectors of cooperation, particularly in defense, in intelligence, sharing in counterterrorism measures. Turkey is committed to Nigeria's fight against terror.
Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima has called on Nigerians to embrace tolerance and peaceful coexistence, saying the nation's shared heritage outweighs divisions. The Vice President made a call in Jos, Plateau State, during a courtesy visit to the Gwangwan Jos and Chairman of the Plateau State Council of Chiefs and Emirs, His Royal Highness Jacob Yang Buba, stressing that unity and mutual respect are essential for national development. Vice President Shettima, who was in the state for the grand reception of Governor Caleb Mutfwang and other political leaders into the All Progressives Congress, described traditional rulers as key custodians of peace and stability in society. He also praised the growing collaboration between the APC National Chairman, Professor Mentawe Yewatda, and Governor Mutfwang, describing the political realignment as a positive development that will bring peace and greater dividends of democracy to Plateau State. Governor Mutfwang, however, commended the strong working relationship between President Bola Tinubu and Vice President Shettima, while the Gwangwan Jos appealed for improved security and genuine reconciliation across the country. The visit was attended by top APC leaders, governors, traditional rulers, and other prominent stakeholders.
The national chairman is our boss. He called the shot at our national headquarters. But the leader of the party in Plateau State is Governor Caleb Manasseh Mutpwang. So we are essentially one people tied to our heritage of underdevelopment, insecurity, and challenges. And I am here to unite the people. Last night, His Excellency former Governor David John Ajang, he wanted to come and pay homage to me. I said no. Kai shugabanmu ne, kai ubanmu ne. I went to his village and paid homage to him. I was at the residence of the president of Kokin, where I met the leadership of different denominations in Christendom at the residence. He equally offered and be rest assured that the governor's decision to realign with the center is the best political decision for the plateau. The president has already given instruction a fara aikin from Akwanga to Jos. Kuma the pilot livestock development project da za a fara a plateau. Kuma ya bada instruction I employing 1,000 forest guards. A bada aiki a 'ya'yan plateau. So protecting our heritage and our people and our farmlands. So it's a win-win situation.
These 2 days, you'll be here since yesterday and today, and been engaging stakeholders on the plateau. And you just deemed it fit that this morning you'll pay respects to our fathers of the land, the Council of Chiefs and Emirs, headed by His Majesty the Bongom Jos, Da Jacob Gang Buba. We want you to know that we're quite delighted to have you, and also to know that you're here with the good wishes of Mr. President, in whom we are well pleased, and we are pleased with your working relationship with Mr. President, and we want to trust God that that relationship will continue to abound. It is my pleasure this morning to welcome you on behalf of the people of Plateau State and to ask you to address this council of... Thank you, Mr. President.
His Excellency, the Governor of Nasarawa State, we were in Lagos. My first son did his youth service under him when he was in charge of a petroleum company, AP. And so we have things that bind us together by the grace of God, not by any design. I started my career in Maiduguri. And despite that I spent just about 10 months in Maiduguri, I have so many friends, equal or like more than the ones I have in Sokoto, where I spent 6 years. We know each other. We can make this country work. And we must make this country work. This is our appeal. Our people, let's look at northern Nigeria. The economy of northern Nigeria is agro-based. And that was in the First Republic, it was agriculture. And some tin mining on the plateau that ran the economy of northern Nigeria. Many years ago, I read a history perspective that somebody published. There was a time when during Sardauna, the budget of northern Nigeria was 2-point-something million pounds. 2-point-something million pounds to run the whole of northern Nigeria, and he did it successfully. So please, we want to appeal that as a united nation, nation, we will achieve a lot more. And we want to appeal to those of you whom God has allowed to be leaders to make the best use of this opportunity.
Moving on, Vice President Kashim Shettima has reaffirmed Nigeria's commitment to shaping Africa's future through impact, inclusion, and strategic investment. Speaking at the Africa Social Impact Summit, high-level policy engagement in Abuja, the Vice President said Nigeria is strengthening initiatives such as the Business Coalition for Education, the Women and Youth Financial Economic Inclusion Platform to drive sustainable development. Represented at the event by his technical advisor on women and youth engagement, Hajia Hawa Liman, Vice President Shettima stressed that government alone cannot address Africa's development challenges, noting that progress requires strong partnerships with the private sector, development partners, and civil society. He said Nigeria is repositioning development as investment in human capital, digital infrastructure, climate resilience, and inclusive markets, while reforming institutions to deliver results for citizens. The Vice President also described the summit as a platform for co-investment and collaboration, adding that empowering women and youth remains central to the Tinubu administration's renewed hope agenda. However, the officials from the Budget and Economic Planning Ministry, the United Nations, and Sterling One Foundation also underscored the need for deeper collaboration to accelerate the sustainable development goals across Nigeria and Africa. The event featured the launch of key policy-backed initiatives aimed at strengthening education, foundational learning, and financial inclusion for women and young people.
The success of every nation is shaped not only by the quality of its ideas, but by the clarity of judgment and the courage of conviction that defines the solution it chooses. We cannot claim to work for the people if we do not share ideas, challenge assumptions, and collaborate to confront the structural gaps that undermine our collective needs. This moment and this engagement represents one of such shared experience. It is an opportunity to listen with humility, to reason with honesty, and to act with purpose. Beyond Nigeria's commitment to shaping Africa's future through impact, inclusion, and investments, this convening of Africa Social Impact Summit, held in partnership with Sterling One Foundation and our local and global collaborators, must be more than an exercise in social relations. It must serve as a platform where intent is converted into execution, where dialogue matches into decision, and where partnerships are forged with outcomes firmly in view. The promise of ACES is one we never take for granted. Over the past 4 editions, we have watched this summit evolve into one of Africa's most consequential platforms for development dialogue. We do not need a lecture on why this engagement matters. None of us doubt its relevance because all of us here share the same aspiration.
Economy-wide nationally determined contributions, African nations are crafting blueprints for a just transition, integrating climate objectives with energy, food systems, job creation, and inclusive economic growth. However, the ambitious goals we set must be met with commensurate support. Excellencies, friends, Africa is stepping up with vision, leadership, and courageous solutions. Now it is the turn of the international community to rise to the occasion. We require a renewed surge of global solidarity from governments, development banks, the private sector, and philanthropic organizations to unlock the finance, the technology, and the partnerships essential for transformative change. Across the continent, Our UN resident coordinators and country teams are diligently collaborating with governments and the private sector to support nationally led initiatives that
do my bit from my sphere of influence where I play, which is agribusiness, and government is to enable. Government has no business in business. Government and private sector partners are collaborators. This year should be a year of intentionality, a year of collaboration, which is why I'm happy to be here. Straight from Davos, straight to the villa. Good initiative on the part of the organizers, and I'm very, very happy and proud of my sister, Weju Bekwe, who is championing this cause alongside collaborators. She told me about this less than 24 hours ago, and I told her I will be here. I didn't know it was breakfast, I thought it was lunch, but you know what? It doesn't really matter. Lunch, breakfast, or dinner, it's food. Food security, right? Food security is an essential part of national security. National security is important. Food security is important, but food sovereignty is more important. We must collaborate, we must cooperate.
Systems and align innovation with equity and national and at state level. Your Excellency and distinguished guests, while 5 years is not long time, it is enough if we change how we act. Let us scale up what works, fix what fails, and hold ourselves accountable for results. The United Nations in Nigeria is fully focused on supporting Nigeria to achieve SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. Through the United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework, we are working with government agencies in all the sectors that relate to SDGs to implement initiatives that will push the needle of the SDGs. But we all know the more must be done urgently. Let us commit to working together to achieve the promise of Agenda 2030 and the Sustainable Development Goals by not leaving no one behind.
Past few decades, Nigeria going through a number of crises. We have the conflicts in the northeast, we have a crisis in the northwest, now also in the middle belt. We have flooding, we have insurgencies, terrorism, and a series of issues that are now compounding the issue. And as a result of these crises, we are seeing large-scale displacement. Today, we are seeing the largest number of displacement in, of course, Borno. That may come as no surprise to you. However, the state with the second displacement is not in the northeast, it's not in the northwest, it's Benue State, with close to 500,000 people who are.
In another development, the federal government has approved the purchase of 2 new communication satellites to boost Nigeria's digital infrastructure and support President Bola Tinubu's plan to grow the economy to $1 trillion. The Minister of Communications and Digital Economy, Bosun Tijani, disclosed this on Wednesday in Abuja at a press conference to mark Global Privacy Day 2026, organized by the Nigerian Data Protection Commission. Tijani said the approval marked a significant shift in Nigeria's digital strategy, noting that the country currently stands out in West Africa for lacking active communication satellites, a gap the new assets are expected to address. He also said progress had been made on the federal government's flagship 90,000-kilometer fiber optic backbone project, which is aimed at expanding broadband access across the country. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll bring you the rest of these stories. Stay with us. Okay, we'll move on with the stories. Now, the Senate has moved to discuss in a closed-door session an alleged breach of Nigeria's territorial integrity linked to a December U.S. military strike on Nigerian soil, raising concerns about constitutional procedure and national security oversight. The issue was spotlighted on the floor of the Senate on Wednesday through a point of order by Senator Abdul Ningi, a PDP member representing Bauchi Central, who spoke on the matters of privilege. Senator Ningi criticized what he described as the audacity of a United States airstrike reportedly carried out in Sokoto State on Christmas Day, arguing that Nigeria's legislators were not briefed on the operation, despite its occurrence within the country's borders. Senate President Godswill Akpabio, however, acknowledged the gravity of the concern, but stressed that matters of national security are not suitable for open debate in the chamber.
President, this assembly has a core responsibility in governance. This assembly has a core accountability in governance. This assembly is not an appendage of the executive. This assembly is not a department of the executive. And therefore, for every action intended, the leadership of the National Assembly must be taken along. It is not right. This is our second day. We have not heard from the chairman of the National Assembly as regards to this serious matter. If we allow this matter to go on like this, the American government is not the only powerful military on the face of the earth. If we begin to dilly-dally with this, the Russians wanted something and we refuse, they can take a hit.
Raise is that your privilege has been breached. I've read the section 9, I understand it, and I was about to let you know that your privilege has not yet been breached. If you can allow me, I can explain. Yesterday, because it's a matter of security, we really should not discuss it in the open. We should have a closed session so that you will be well briefed. But we lost the Senior Senator Akwashiki on our first sitting, and there was no time to undertake that. So you are very right. Your point of order is noted, and I want to assure you that just like you read on the pages of newspapers that the attack, I'm sure you are referring to what happened in Sokoto, happened with the concurrence and the collaboration of the Nigerian security services. We have also been so brief, but we need to brief you in closed session. We need to brief you in closed session. Security is not something that we speak in the market.
Now, the Senate on Wednesday deferred deliberation on the much-anticipated report of its committee on electoral matters following the absence of the committee's chairman, Senator Simon Bako Lalong of Plateau South. The Red Chamber had listed the presentation and close-by-close consideration of the report on the order paper as a Senate leader, Kwayemi Bamidele, formally invited Senator Lalong to lay the report, after which debate was expected to commence. However, proceedings stalled when the committee chairman was not present to present the document, and the development sparked a brief exchange among senators before a motion was moved to step down the item. Corroborating the Senate leader's position, Senate President Godswill Akpabio announced the postponement of both the presentation and detailed consideration of the report until the next legislative day. The Senate is currently working on the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2025, aimed at reforming aspects of the 2022 Electoral Act ahead of the 2027 general elections. The proposed amendments are expected to address operational gaps and strengthen transparency in the electoral process. Although the House of Representatives passed its version of the amendment bill in December 2025, the Senate's delay in concluding work on the report has drawn attention, as the upper chamber must harmonize its position before the legislation can proceed further.
And the intention is not to withdraw, it's not to ask the Secretariat to withdraw this. Members should be allowed to go home with this bill. I feel that it's not a bill that can be presented and considered right away as scheduled on the order paper. My motion, sir, is that members, distinguished senators, be allowed to go home with this bill. And when we come tomorrow, which is the next legislative day, we will also hold a brief closed-door session for us to debate critical clauses of this bill, so that we can come and consider and take our positions in gathering, in plenary. So, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my motion is that we stand down. No. The presentation will be done tomorrow. That's the essence of my. That we stand down this bill for consideration on the next legislative day. But it's important that distinguished colleagues are allowed to go home with copies, and that we also have a brief closed-door session before we resume plenary to consider this. I so move, Mr. President.
So we step it down, and then we commence with closed session on the next legislative dates. Let me say that, Senate Leader, I believe the Senate has a way of diffusing tension. This is a very important bill, considering the fact that we are about to go into elections. So if we rush it, we regret at the tribunal. So if we get it right, then all Nigerians will smile. We have a free and fair election, particularly where Senator Tambuwa is looking at me. So maybe he thought I was going to rush it. I'm not going to rush it.
Now, President Bola Tinubu has asked the House of Representatives to urgently consider and approve 2 constitutional amendment bills aimed at expanding the capacity of Nigeria's superior courts, proposing an increase in the number of Federal High Court judges from 70 to 90, and boosting the justices of the Court of Appeal from 70 to 110. The requests, conveyed on Wednesday in separate letters and read during plenary, were justified by the growing volume and complexity of cases before the courts, including terrorism, transnational organized crime, and other national security-related matters. Tinubu said the proposed expansion would significantly improve the judge-to-case ratio, speed up adjudication, enhance access to justice, and strengthen public confidence in the judiciary, urging lawmakers to give the bills expeditious consideration to improve the efficiency, effectiveness, and institutional capacity of Nigeria's judicial system.
I'm pleased to transmit to the House of Representatives for legislative action the attached Court of Appeal Amendment Bill 2026. The bill seeks to amend the Court of Appeal Act, Cap C 36, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to strengthen the institutional capacity, efficiency, and effectiveness of the Court of Appeal in line with the constitutional provisions and contemporary justice sector realities. The major amendments proposed in the bill include the following. A, increase in the number of justices of the Court of Appeal. The bill seeks to increase the number of justices of the Court of Appeal, including the President of the Court, from 70 to 110. B, clarification of judicial structure and seniority. The bill seeks to restructure provisions relating to the composition, precedence, and ranking of justices of the Court of Appeal, including the...
In another story, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, has accused the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, of misleading the Senate into approving the ban on sachet alcohol and PET bottles. Speaking on Wednesday in Lagos while outlining the association's 2026 projections, President, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Francis Meshoye, and Director General, Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, Segun Ajayi Kadiri, said NAFDAC failed to present empirical data to justify claims that sachet alcohol negatively impacts children. The Manufacturers Association of Nigeria's leadership maintained that policy decisions affecting businesses should be guided by verifiable data and logic, not sentiments. They challenged NAFDAC to publicly present the data used to support the ban on sachet alcohol. Ajayi Kadiri noted that sachet alcohol products are clearly labeled 18+, and that manufacturers have complied with regulatory requirements, including public awareness campaigns and obtaining NAFDAC registration numbers. He stressed that enforcement of age restrictions falls within NAFDAC's regulatory responsibilities, adding that the agency should focus on effective regulation rather than pushing for an outright ban. According to MAN, the Senate was not provided with sufficient and balanced information before approving the ban, a development the association believes could negatively affect the manufacturing sector and jobs across the value chain.
The judge must have said that when the tax change those who are impactful health-wise negatively, that no one will get any income from as a government. Rather than drawing out the one that I assumed by my logic, without data that is impacting on them negatively, that even will harm my economy, my income, my overall plan. There will be job loss, there will be no taxes, there will be agony, psychological dispersion, and you can't quantify the loss. You just put some figures there to say this is the figure. So it's not about just a reasoning or sentiments or assumption. It's about data, and that's what we are talking about. I want the data if I want to say, okay, please give us the data that tell us that. Then let us now have a long-year plan. If we are partners. Look, if you have to be partners, you don't want to hurt anyone. Am I correct? If you want to disagree with your friends or something, you want to hurt him, you want to kill him, no. You want to engage properly that, okay, can you have a robust plan that not only ease you out, but at the same time provide alternates. Fine, you want to cancel sachets. Fine, can you have a time frame? Can you support this time frame?
So the House of Reps said that that was not okay. We were all in the National Assembly. The Minister of Health was there, NAFDAC was there, MAN was there. They brought in all sorts of stakeholders. We agreed, and that was implemented. But whilst we didn't know what was happening, they rushed to the Senate, and they didn't give enough information and background, and misled, I believe, the Senate to come up with that. The matter was taken up. The Secretary to Government of the Federation issued a directive that NAFDAC should hold on the implementation, but they disregarded federal government directive. And that's where we are at. They are going to our members, they are closing their factory, disrupting their operations and so on, and risking jobs. You see, nobody wants children to take alcohol. There's responsibility for everybody. The regulators should regulate well. Parents should do their job. Schools should do their job. Because
away from that, the chairperson of Ikeja local government, Mrs. Temitope Fauziat Dauda, has distributed food and cash palliatives to widows and elderly residents as part of efforts to cushion the effects of the current economic hardship. The distribution exercise was held at the Ikeja Local Government Marriage Registry and was attended by members of the top management team, beneficiaries, and other stakeholders. Speaking at the event, Dauda, who initiated the program, urged beneficiaries to make good use of the items distributed to support their daily needs. She emphasized that the initiative was designed to provide relief and demonstrate the local government's commitment to the welfare of vulnerable groups within the community. Beneficiaries expressed appreciation to the chairperson for her kind gesture, commending her for remembering widows and elderly women and for prioritizing their well-being during challenging economic times.
The empowerment program we are having today is to recognize our aged and then our widows in our society. We are here to appreciate them and to tell them thank you for how they've been supporting us, supporting our party, and for everything they've been doing in our community. We are giving back to them. The elders, they are very important in our society. We have every honor and privilege to take care of them, and that is exactly what we are doing today. We are remembering them and telling them thank you, that we, their children, will never forget them and will continue to remember them. We have 100 beneficiaries, both the aged and then the widows. My message to them is that they should continue to remain strong, healthy, and to continue to support our honorable party, APC.
This is a very standout innovative, at least for our elderly women and the widow, who are giving back to the society. Meanwhile, it's also part of our Ikeja agenda, which looking into the strong and elderly women, at least for the elders in council, which in our plan to be taking care of them often. If it is not monthly, it should be something that will be coming up quarterly, in order for us to spread our initiative throughout our 6 wards in Ikeja local government.
The chairperson, I want to appreciate her, and she has told me that this will continue on regular basis, and I know she can do it. Then to the beneficiaries, they have been with us, with the local government, they are our mothers, the widows, the elderly. I pray that the Lord will continue to grant them good health so that they can enjoy the full dividend of democracy. The chairman is passionate about these people. I can tell you for free. He's so passionate. Anything that comes from the community, he would rather leave that of staff and attend to that of the community before attending to staff. He will say, you are inside, you are within. Please, let me satisfy these people first. And then we will be so supportive and will continue to support his administration.
It's splendid. And I've never experienced such an amazing thing before. I can say this is my first time, and it's amazing. It was wonderful.
I will thank you for them that they are going to do for me. God will bless them. More blessing for them.
Say big thank you for what you have done, what you have been doing, and the one you will continue to do. And may God Almighty continue to bless you and bless your husband. My advice to the beneficiary is we should continue to support her and her husband. The executive chairman of Ikeja local government is doing wonderful. He has been doing very well. We have seen many changes, many things in the...
You're still watching the Primetime News on MITV. We'll take a short break now, and when we return, we'll bring you foreign news. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now to foreign news. President Donald Trump warned on Wednesday that time is running out for Iran to come to the table and avoid U.S. military action, prompting Tehran to retort that it would respond to any attack like never before. As Trump issued another threat, his top diplomat, Marco Rubio, said the Iranian leadership was at its weakest ever point, and Germany's leader, Friedrich Merz, predicted the Islamic Republic's days are numbered after this month's deadly crackdown on anti-government protests. Trump has not ruled out an attack after the protests that began in late December and peaked on January 8 and 9, in which a rights group said more than 6,200 people were killed. In June last year, the U.S. carried out strikes on Iranian nuclear sites during Israel's 12-day war against the Islamic Republic. In his latest post on Truth Social, Trump did not mention the protest, but said Iran needed to negotiate a deal over its nuclear program, which the West believes is aimed at making an atomic bomb. Now, Israel today laid to rest the last hostage from Hamas's October 7, 2023 attack, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warned at the funeral that the country's enemies would pay a heavy price for any future aggression. Netanyahu's threat came as Hamas said it was prepared to carry out a full transfer of governance in Gaza to a 15-member Palestinian technocratic committee established under a U.S.-backed ceasefire plan. Hundreds of tearful mourners packed a stadium in southern Israel on Wednesday for the funeral of Ran Givli, the last Gaza hostage whose burial marked the end of a painful national saga triggered by Hamas's 2023 attack. Israeli forces on Monday brought home the remains of Givli, who was killed in action and whose body Palestinian militants took into Gaza during the attack. A large banner bearing Givli's portrait hung inside a stadium in Meitar, the hometown of the 24-year-old police officer, where crowds gathered for his funeral before he was laid to rest. In another story, a fugitive from Italy's most powerful organized crime group has been arrested in Switzerland, authorities said on Wednesday. The man from Calabria, Ndrangheta Mafia, was arrested on Friday in Wetzikon, around 30 kilometers east of Zurich, the cantonal police told newsmen, without giving his identity. He was detained on the basis of an Italian arrest warrant, Switzerland's Federal Office of Justice said. He is now in custody, and Italy has until February 10 to make a formal extradition request, the office added. Switzerland's domestic news agency Keystone ATS said the warrant was issued in January 2022 by prosecutors in the Calabrian capital, Catanzaro. The man was reportedly linked in May 2022 to an investigation into international drug trafficking. Calabria is one of the poorest regions in Italy, and the 'Ndrangheta is the most powerful and richest Italian mafia, thanks in particular to its strong grip on cocaine trafficking in Europe. Moving on, a former nurse, Sarah Mullally, was officially confirmed Wednesday as the first female Archbishop of Canterbury and the first woman to head the Church of England, the mother church of the 85 million strong global Anglican Communion. At a historic service at London's St. Paul's Cathedral, Mullally, 63, legally took up the position ahead of her formal installation or enthronement at Canterbury Cathedral on March 25. Mullally will begin her public ministry and full program of public engagements after that date, according to the church. A heckler briefly interrupted proceedings and was escorted from the cathedral, although it was not immediately clear what the person said. Her appointment has caused a backlash among some conservative members of the Anglican Communion, particularly in Africa, with the Church of Uganda describing it last October as sad news. Conservative churches have been at odds for years with more liberal Western counterparts, particularly over women priests and LGBTQ issues. We're due for another short break. When we return, we'll bring you sports news. Welcome back to the Primetime News on Mitv. Now to sports news. International transfer fees in men's football hit a record $13.08 billion in 2025, World Football's governing body said on Wednesday. FIFA said in its annual global transfer market report there was an all-time record of 86,158 international transfers completed in 2025. Women's football accounted for 2,440 transfers and total spending of $28.6 million, a year-on-year increase for more than 80%. The joint transfer total for men and women's football, professional and amateur, of $13.11 billion represents more than 50% above the spending in 2024 and 35.6% higher than the previous record set in 2023. In men's professional football, clubs from England were once again both the #1 spender and the #1 recipient of transfer fees, with $3.82 billion spent on incoming transfers and $1.77 billion received for outgoing transfers in 2025. Now, Spanish football fans